Hey guys, where do I start? It's been 6 hours since Celtic lost to Dundee United in a 2-1 victory for Dundee. We started the first half very quick. We had a lot of chances. We did not take them. Johnny Kenny, Dyson Mieda. We were on the front foot. Dyson Mieda was sprinting in behind. We were finding him. The link-up play on the left-hand side was excellent. Early in the first half, first 15, 20 minutes, we were brilliant. First 35 minutes, we played as good football as I've seen us play all season. We score. Dyson Mieda scores 1-0. Everything's looking bright. Right, it's the first time Wilfred Nancy has been in front as Celtic manager since he's been in the door, about 2 weeks. We've had 4 defeats in a row, to Hearts, to Roma, to St. Mirren in last week's cup final, and yesterday against Dundee United. And the problems at Celtic are way beyond, and I mean way beyond Wilfred Nancy. The squad right now is in a pickle. I'm trying to be nice here. The squad right now looks as weak as I personally remember it. It's been a while since I've seen a Celtic team with this much insufficiencies, this much injuries has been another part of it. There's been probably 4 to 5 main players that have been injured. And I'm going to name them: Cameron Carter-Vickers, Alistair Johnston, Marcelo Scarachi, I think that's how you pronounce his name, the Uruguayan. Right? Iheanacho, Jota. Right? Some of these have been long-term injuries. CCV and Jota have been long-term injuries. And probably 2 very important players to how the previous manager wanted to play. Jota was amazing under Ange Postecoglou. Then he left for the Saudi League. He didn't get an opportunity. He comes back, right, and he starts picking up form. He's looking good. He's playing good football, and then that fracture, that just bad freaking tackle. And, Iheanacho, we brought in, I wouldn't even say the summer window, because he was signed after the summer because his previous team let him go due to injury concerns. He was never fit. So, Celtic signed him on a free, after we were supposedly in for Patrick Dolberg, who went to Ajax for 10 million quid. So we went from a 10 million quid player to a player on a free who has injury problems. And that's a striker. Now, over the last 2.5 years, we've lost Carl Stauffelt. We've lost Kyogo Furuhashi. We've lost Adam Ida. We've lost Georgios Giamakis. We've lost Neil Abada. We've lost Matt O'Reilly. We lost, Josef Juranovic. The only player we properly replaced, by the way, was Alistair Johnston, who's currently right now out injured. He's the only player in that bunch over the last 2.5 years that we properly replaced. We only signed Iheanacho and Shin Yamada in the summer. And Callum Osman came in too, right? But he's a youth project who started playing under Martin O'Neill and got injured. And, he actually looked very good. But he picked up an injury, and that's another concern. This squad is bare fin. We're playing players out of position. And I haven't even mentioned the manager yet, who I don't blame for the current squad's inabilities. I don't. Or the current squad's injury worries or woes. I don't blame him for that. I don't blame this manager for the tactical naivete he has shown by switching a 4-3-3 formation to a 3-4-3 formation or 3-4-2-1 formation, which he has done. I don't blame him we went from Carl Stauffelt to Liam Skills, which is a downgrade. Right? We went from Matt O'Reilly to Arnie Engels, which is a downgrade. We went from Leo Abada to, Nicholas Kuhn came in, and Nicholas Kuhn left in the summer, and that's another name I forgot to mention, right? To Yang. This is the problem. The downgrade of players that Celtic have had and has come in to replace the players that have left there's been a massive downgrade in those players, right? A lot of players as Postecoglou signed previous to Brendan Rodgers coming in, played a high, quick intensity game, who hunted the ball from the front, and a lot of counter pressing and playing quick football in between the lines. When Ange Postecoglou was here, Tom Rodgers was playing 90 minutes, which never happened previously under any previous manager the 9 years he was here prior. So he was playing 90 minutes, and he was quite able to do it. So, generally he's playing 60 minutes or he's playing 30 minutes. He never played 90 minutes, but he was doing it week in, week out, game in, game out for a period under Ange Postecoglou, which showed he could do it. And a lot of previous managers talked about his fitness was the reason that, he wasn't always in the team. So managers can't get the best out of players, especially managers who believe in players. But this is the worst squad I can remember in a long, long time. The squad, once Alistair Johnston gets injured, you're either Donovan or Anthony Ralston, which is a downgrade, right? Liam Scales, who I don't personally rate, has probably been our best player this season, and that's saying something on how bad this team has been. And that's a centre-back. He's probably been our most consistent player this season. I wouldn't say he's the best player, but he's probably been our most consistent player. Callum McGregor was a CDM, played CDM, really started that role under Ange Postecoglou, where he's like, you're a ball-playing centre midfield player. We're Celtic. We're going to have most of the ball. Get the ball to Rio Tati. Get it to Matt O'Reilly. Get it to Tom Rodgers. Get it to the more creative guys. Get it to Leo Abada. Get it to Kyogo, right? Get it to Ryan Christie, who was there for a while. Just play the ball quickly, and get it out of your feet. And that worked for us because, we played quick football. And then Brendan Rodgers came in and he wanted to slow the pace down. And he did, right? The pace was a lot more methodical, right? We were breaking teams down. We were still counter-pressing when we had Nicholas Kuhn, Dyson Mieda, and Kyogo Fuahashi up front. We were pressing teams. We were putting them under pressure. But the minute Nicholas Kuhn left and Kyogo left last January, who we haven't replaced, by the way, not properly, and then Adamita came in it was 18 months ago in the January transfer window, the end of the January transfer window, 18 months ago. And he left in the summer on the final day. You're thinking, okay, he's leaving. Celtic got a striker in mind to come in and take his place. They didn't have that. So then you have Yang, who was meant to leave in the summer. Dyson Mieda had his locker packed up at Lennoxtown. So he did. He had the locker packed at Lennoxtown, and they did not. He couldn't get a move because Celtic did not have a replacement for Dyson Mieda in the door. But he was promised a move, and apparently he agreed a deal to go to a Premier League team. And because Celtic could not bring in a replacement, that deal fell through. Yang, on transfer deadline day, was supposed to go to Birmingham City, I believe. And because Michael Nicholson was freaking busy on transfer deadline day, he missed a freaking phone call from Birmingham City, and they went and picked up Patrick Roberts. So they did. And we missed out in $3 million on him. This club is a freaking mess. The people running it, Dermot Desmond, is blaming the freaking fans for everything. Ross Desmond is his son, who's doing the same thing, right? Peter Laurel left the club yesterday, and he's leaving on the 31st of December, I believe, or is it the 1st of January? I'm not sure, right? But, it's one of those 2 days. Will be his final days at Celtic. And he blames the fans for him leaving, right? He said the fans have been nasty and ignorant and all this here, right? That's fine. I have no problem with that. But, apparently they've gone after his family. He said he doesn't need that. Apparently it got physical or something. I don't know, right? But there's no proof of that. They have no proof. But in his statement, he blamed the fans, but never once did he thank the fans for Celtic's success over the last 22 years he's been at the club. This club has been a mess. And it has been a mess for a while. And the squad decline is real. And here's the thing. I'm saying this because the manager does not have the players to play the system he wants to play. They're not, incapable, because a lot of them a couple years ago were understudies and they haven't progressed to being first-team players. Liam Scales was an understudy for Kyle Starfelt and Cameron Carter-Vickers. And he's not better than either of those two guys. Cameron Carter-Vickers, who is injured, and he has been injured probably since September, and he will be injured for the rest of the season. And Kyle Starfelt left a few years ago. You know, this guy came in, Brendan Rodgers took a liking to him because, you know, he always gave it 100%. It was never because he was a great defender, but because he gave effort 100% every single time. And I don't mind that. But he's not a top defender. Trusty, who we spent £6 million on, was a waste of freaking money. Paul Tisdale was probably behind that freaking move. The greatness of Paul Tisdale and his fucking scouting network, right? We spent $5 million on Bagaquisha, who's nowhere near the fucking team, who we spent 2 years fucking scouting. He was meant to come to us last year, but he fucking picked up an injury, right? And we scouted him for a year because our board, after they found this guy, said, we're not going to look at any more alternatives. Konechny was probably the lowest on the fucking barrel of players that Celtic could bring in. Benjamin Negrin is a waste of freaking space, right? You know, he's no pace. He's got nothing. Luke McGowan is, you know, he tries. You know, he tries. Real, when Real's on, he's on it. But recently, you know, it's yin and yang with him, right? You know, either he's on it or he's not. And the majority of the time, he's not. Callum McGregor is probably the player that tries to, you know, drag Celtic through the bootstraps. Arnie Ingles is Celtic's most expensive player, and, you know, yet again, he's not special. Celtic have spent money. I'm not going to say the board have not spent money. They just spend it on the wrong players. The squad downgrade is real, right? And here's the thing, right? Celtic every summer come out of the window making a profit by selling players. And the players they bring in are a lot cheaper than the players they sell. So Celtic have made profits the last number of years. And we've lost 4 games in a row under this new manager who's come in. And don't get me started on Kasper Schmeichel, who's a freaking downgrade from Joe Hart. It's annoying to see where we are right now as a club. Right, I would put Cinciano in there. And Paulo Bernardo was probably our best player today in the first half in our midfield when it came to retaining the ball and doing the simple things well. He played very well, and he's had limited minutes, and he's a freaking good player. Is he a showstopper? No. But who does our manager bring off when he makes substitutions? He brings off the freaking player that's actually playing well. And that's Paulo Bernardo. This manager does not know this team. And let me put it to you like this. Apparently there's things where he doesn't know who Jota is or what position Jota plays. Jota's a left freaking winger, bro. You thought he was a centre half. Apparently that's come out today that he didn't know Jota was a left winger. And he got him mixed up with a centre half. And Jota was just in the building, you know, like seeing the Celtic team because he's out injured at the moment. And he's been injured since April earlier this year. He picked up an injury. It might have been the end of March or early April, but it was sometime around there. This club, from top to bottom, is rotten. Nicholson does not have an idea what he's doing. Tisdale, Paul Tisdale, is a guy, he's meant to be this expert football analyst, and scout and all this here, and he knows all about football. And he's making football decisions. And apparently, the only reason Nancy got the job is because Ankpadu, or whatever his freaking name is, the assistant of Wilfred Nancy, was his assistant when he was at one of his current clubs as a manager. One of his smaller, I think it was Carlisle or something, I don't know. Right, I don't care. But this guy's running our football department. And it's, so he knows Ankpadu, who is Nancy's assistant at Columbus Crew. So it's like, get him a job. Okay. Right? Alan Postecoglou was not meant to work. At that time, our team, everything was fractured. We had nobody running the football department. So Alan came in and said, you know what, I'll run the football department. I'll make decisions. Right? Dave Mackay, who came in with Ernst Postecoglou, right, came in around the same time as Ernst Postecoglou, got fired because he signed Josef Juranovic without the team's permission. And he thought this was part of his job. He could do that. That's why he got fired, because he was too ambitious. He wanted Celtic to be ambitious. And Celtic want to go so far, but they don't want to compete in the Champions League. They don't want to put that responsibility of Champions League. And I get it. I freaking get it. But at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter, does it? It doesn't matter what it is, how it is. We're just in trouble right now. This club, from top to bottom, is in trouble. Dermot Desmond, is too busy fighting the fans. Too busy blaming everybody but the hierarchy of the club. And Wilfred Nancy is the fall guy. He's the guy who's going to take all the freaking blame. He's the guy, when it goes pear-shaped, and it will, right? I really want to give this guy to the end of the season. Right? I really do. And I want to give him a January transfer window. I want the board to back him, not with their players, but with his players. I want the board to go, all right, here's the transfer. Here's the transfer budget. Bring in 4 or 5 players with that money. And we are going to back you properly. That's what I want. And I want him to fail on his terms or succeed in his terms. Right? I got no thing with Wilfred Nancy in the wrist. Was I surprised we lost yesterday? No. I wasn't surprised. Absolutely not. I was not 100% surprised we lost yesterday. I was not surprised that we played well for the first 35 minutes. We couldn't score because we got Johnny Kenny up front. We couldn't score because instead of Leo Bada coming on the back post, we have Yang coming on the back post, who anticipation is not there. I'm not surprised that Dyson Maeda started like a fake train in the first half. We played well down the freaking left. I'm not surprised that we looked sturdy in the first half because they stood off us and they let us play football. But in the second half, when they started being physical with us and put us under pressure and rushed our back line, we fell apart. We fell apart. We stopped playing football. We started kicking the ball upfield. We started giving the ball back to them. We stopped looking for the man in the middle. We fell apart. They put pressure on us from the second half. From the very first second of the second half, they put 3 guys on our 3 back men. And every time one of our guys touched the ball in the back, they were hustling, they were chasing, they were cutting off spaces, and they didn't give our guys anywhere to go. And our midfield didn't help either. They didn't come short. They didn't want to receive the ball. When they did receive the ball, it was an overpass or a mispass, which means they had to make adjustments. Because once you put our defense under pressure, and this is Trusty, this is Anthony Ralston, it wasn't Liam Skills, it was Kieran Tierney. Once you put our defense under pressure, this defense under pressure, they're going to fold. And at the end of the day, right, I know we're in trouble right now. I know this team is in trouble. I know even when we get back a few players, it's not going to be enough because we started well against St. Mirren in the cup final on Sunday. We conceded early, but for the next 35 minutes or the next 30 minutes, Iheanacho was playing absolutely brilliant. He was coming short. He was picking up the ball. He was bringing players into play. And I saw Johnny Kenny try to do that, and he did it very well in the first half. And he was very much part of the link-up play, Johnny Kenny, in the first half. In the second half, Dundee said, all right, we're going to be physical with you. That ball comes up to you. We're going to have a guy hunting at your heels. And we're going to make it difficult for you to take the ball in, to find players running off you. Right? We're just going to make it physical. Now, Iheanacho got injured in the 35th minute, I think it was, something like that, against St. Mirren. He pulled his hamstring for the third time this season. He's pulled a hamstring. And, you know, it's Johnny Kenny and Shin Yamada are two strikers left over. They're not good enough for Celtic. Negrin is no good. Yang on the right's no good. Dyson Maeda is probably the only player with a little bit of pace, but he lacks quality in the final third. Even though he scored today, he lacks that final ball, right? Would I love to have Jota fit, playing week in, week out, on the left-hand side, Dyson Maeda on the right? Would I think that would make us better balanced? Yes. Would I love to have Iheanacho fit, game in, game out, you know, getting confidence, getting chances, getting goals? Yes. Would I love to have Cameron Carter-Vickers in the back three? And the right on the back three? Do I think that would make us stronger? Yes. Would I love to have Sirachi on the left hand side as a left wing back? Yes. Would I love to have Alistair Johnson on the right hand side as the right wing back? Do I think that makes us stronger? Yes. Right? Do I think that's a better balanced team than what's been shown up? Yes. Do I think if the manager right now had all those options available to him, he would choose those options? No. This manager doesn't know his best team yet. He's figuring things out on the job, and Celtic are losing games. And I don't blame him. There's so much upheaval this season. There's so much wrong what's happening in Celtic. There's so much... What's the word? Disparity. There's not enough ingenuity. There's not enough brains. There's not enough, luck. We've been unlucky this season, probably as bad as any season. But in previous seasons, we could have dealt with injuries. We could have dealt with having 4 or 5 players out and having something in the background, someone to step in. In previous seasons, we could have done that. But not only are we doing that, but we've gone from a 4-3-3 formation to a 3-4-3 formation to a bunch of players who can't play this formation. Right? We don't have players who are good going forward, and the opposite thing, good defensively to play the wing-back system. Now, I think Sirachi and Alistair Johnson would fit those roles better? Yes. But both guys are injured. Do I think you could play Jota in that free on the left-hand side up front with Dyson Maeda and Iheanacho? Yes. But this guy needs a January transfer window. And I hope the Celtic board, honestly, let this guy buy his own, if they're going to give him to January. Because a lot of Celtic fans are asking for this man's head. A lot of Celtic fans are asking for this man to resign. A lot of Celtic fans are saying, just do the right thing and sack this guy. A lot of Celtic fans are thinking, we're not going to win the league with this man. Right now, as it is. And they're probably right. Right now, as it is, the way it is, we're not going to win the league. That's unthinkable. That's freaking unthinkable. But in the other part of this, and I mean this, so you can take it any way you want to take it. If he brings in his players in January and it works, like Ernest Postecoglou did the first January when he brought in Rio Watati, Ida Gucci, and Dyson Mieda, when he brought in Matt O'Reilly, and suddenly our midfield looked stronger and looked full of energy, right? Our forward play, Giamakis, who was brought in that summer, right? Played a couple of games up front in the early part of the season. He picked up, he didn't play well. He picked up an injury. Then January comes around, and Kyogo starts picking up injury, and this guy starts playing games. And he starts bagging them in. He's scoring goals for fun. And Kyogo comes back, and suddenly, basically, we got 2 players for every position. That's what it felt like under Ernest Postecoglou. We had 2 players ready to step in for every freaking position. And now we're struggling to put 11 out in the field that look cohesive and fit and look like they understand their jobs and understand what they're doing on the pitch and has any bit of quality whatsoever. We were, usually by this time of the year, we're the top scorers in the league. And we got the best defensive record in the league, and nobody's touching us. I think we're like 8 or 9 goals behind Hearts, and our defense is probably in the middle of the pack. I haven't done no research on it, but just watching us, I could say that's pretty much, I would say, about where we are. We have conceded, let me see, since this guy came in, Hearts 2-1, so we conceded 2 goals. Roma, 3 goals, so that's 5. Then we got beat 3-1 to St. Mirren, and then we got beat 2-1 today. So we've conceded 10 goals in the last 4 games, and we've scored 1, 2, 3 goals in the last 10 games. Or in the last 4 games, sorry. So 10 goals to 3. We've conceded and we scored. And we played well the first half. We really did. Second half, they figured us out. Right? And we started playing slower the second half. We weren't playing the ball as quickly forward as we were. We weren't one touch getting in behind, right? Taking off runners. And the thing with that was they put us under pressure in midfield and our defence. Every time one of our players had the ball, they were hunting us down. And they were tighter marking in the second half. And we lost due to second phases of corners. We've conceded a lot of goals from corners this season. From first phase to second phase, of maybe getting a header and, a volley or, them crossing the ball back in again and us not being in the right position to, to get away, get the ball away. So it's tough. It's a tough watch at the moment. Do I blame this manager entirely? No. Do I think he should be sacked? No. Am I willing to have a bad season for a lot of these board members to leave and to bring in people who are actually competent in how to run a football club? I would sacrifice this season for that. For long-term success and for maintaining success, yes, I would. I'd be very happy with that. I know a lot of Celtic fans would not. I know that's not our nature. But, sometimes you had to be punished to be reborn. Sometimes you have to suffer. Sometimes you have to be unconscious to wake up nice and fresh. And that's what Celtic need. Celtic need to wake up nice and fresh. And, there's been a saying here that this manager, he's basically he's basically been cast for the wrong movie. And he probably has. I don't think he has any idea of what he walked into at Celtic. I don't think he had any idea of the shit show, the people running the club. When he walked in, right, he didn't even get a press conference. He didn't even get, like Michael Nicholson welcoming him to the club in front of the cameras and asking questions. Michael Nicholson doesn't like answering questions to the media. He doesn't do that unless it's very friendly Celtic media. Right? They didn't want fan media at any of the press conferences. They don't want fan media at any of the press conferences. They're blaming the Celtic Ultras, the Green Brigade, for a lot of the club's problems on and off the pitch. They're blaming the fans for a lot of the stuff that's happening, for the bullying they say that's happening to billionaires and millionaires at our club. And I'm not talking about the players, I'm talking about the people running the club. Are very wealthy people who are getting a good paycheck off Celtic, but they're blaming the fans who come spend their money, and the only time they ever want to communicate with the fans is get out your checkbooks. We're selling this, we're doing this, we're doing that. That's the only time they ever want to celebrate with the fans. Or they want to, they want to talk to the fans. They want to communicate with the fans. New season tickets, right? Europa League tickets are in. Champions League tickets are in. Whatever competition we're in. That's the only time they want to speak to us, to fan members. And I'm not a game going guy, but like that, right? I've been to Celtic Park in a long time. But, and it's not because I don't want to, it's because I can't afford it. And I wish I could. I wish I had the money to go to the games. I wish I had the money to travel from Ireland every weekend, go and support Celtic. But they're not getting any money off me, not until they start running the club as a competitive spirit in Europe, as a competitive entity in Europe, as a team that will make an impact in Europe, as a team that plays good football in Europe, a team does not get manhandled in Europe, to a team, that you can be proud of and say, this is my team. And a team that has identity, and, when teams come to Celtic Park, they're going to have a tough game, but when Celtic go away, you know that they're going to give that team a good game. Win, lose, or draw, And that doesn't always happen. A lot of times in Europe, we go one down, our heads drop. And especially away from home, our heads drop. And we let teams walk over us. And that's been the last number of years. And that's been a long time, especially away from home. That's been, 25, 30 years that's been happening. But, yeah, something has to be done. And I'm not going to blame this manager completely. I want to see him succeed. And I'm one of these fans, I'll be optimistic about it. I know he's the board's guy. And that should be enough to tell you that this guy is not the guy. But I do want something. I do want him to come good. I do want him to bring in players in January and for us to start playing amazing football, for us to look stronger, for players to come back from injury, and suddenly we got a squad. We got a good team. We got 2 players in every position, 4 or 5 players, and players coming back from injury. This team looks completely different. It could look sensational, or it could look crap. But I'm a realist. I don't know what's going to happen. And when I saw the summer, I knew that this was a possibility. When I saw the transfer window we had in the summer window, and at the end of it, me and my brother argues, and he goes, Celtic are always tight and all this here, and he always defends the board. And I'm like, how can you defend them, sheriff? Won't say it. And he always points to domestic success. Now he say, well, our European success has been limitless or limited. It's been shit. It's been crap. In Europe, we're a joke. You know what I mean? So it's disappointing just where we are right now. And, I want this manager to succeed. I want his word salads to come out, and I want him to have an idea and identity. But I want him to come along with the fans. I want him to engage with the fans. I want him to, embrace the fans. I want him to feel the love for this club, because when things are going right at this club and Celtic are playing great football and that energy between the fans and the players are there, this is a great club. Not with the board. But when the players embrace the fans, and when the fans embrace the players, this is a great stadium and great club to be at. When the football's dire and slow, you're winning, but it's dire and slow and it's not entertaining. It's a tough, it's a tougher sell to a lot of fans. And the Celtic fans maintain a high standard. We want the best. We want to see the best. We want to see how we play at that top level. And we want to compete at that top level. Not we probably would never win the Champions League in my lifetime. No, we won't. Right? But a quarterfinal would be nice. Last 16, maybe last 8. Getting lucky, get a last minute penalty or something. Go for something that just excites. That'd be nice. Something where we're punching way above our weight. But then the next season we don't hit the halo and we go, well, this is how far we can go. We're going to sell our best players, and we're not going to back the manager, and we're not going to improve on the squad. But we're going to use that to get rid of a lot of the players, and the players who come in are a lot less than the players we sold. That's happened numerous times under Celtic. That these players have hit a high bar at Celtic, and they get sold, and the player comes in as nowhere near as good. And that happens in 3 or 4 positions in your team, and suddenly the football is dire. It doesn't play off well, but it is what it is. I just want us to get back to enjoying football. I want the Celtic fans to enjoy their football. That's it. That's what I want. And I don't think I've been too bad on the board. And I could have been a lot worse. I could have been shouting and screaming. I think I've been level-headed throughout this thing, even though I've probably said some things. But our new manager, he has to get that naivete out of him. You got to, he's got to sharpen up a little bit. He's got to go back and watch games on how we play. He's got to go and look at things on where the team is now to where it was under As Postecoglou, where it was under people like Gordon Strachan, where it was under Martin O'Neill, where the fans loved those people, loved what they brought to Celtic. Neil Lennon under certain spots. He doesn't want to be a Tony Mowbray or a John Barnes who never really got Celtic, never really got the fans, never really got the winning mentality. So, but I want to feel that for the manager, and I want to feel that for the players again. I want to feel like that love is both ways. Because under Ange Postecoglou, it felt like that. It felt like these players were on a journey and they brought us with them. And since Ange has left the club, Brendan has come in. That has gone. And Brendan was writing a lot of these players, and a lot of these players were signed over his head. A lot of these players were signed under Brendan Rodgers' management role. And a lot of these players were signed under Brendan Rodgers, over Brendan Rodgers' head. Were signed by the board, were club signings. And I always believe the manager should choose the players. He's the one who's going to get fired over it. He's the one that's taking all the risk. You have a window. He's like, here's the budget. You give him the budget. He's like, okay, here's the list of players. It should be this much, this much, this much, this much. Go try to get those players. And if you can't get those, here's my second tier players. Here are the second players in that position. Try to get the best players you can. And Celtic have not done that. Celtic over the last number of years has let agents. They've let agents tell them what players are available, what players are free, who they can bring in, who they can't. And it's been a lot of it's been a mess. But they've been dealing with agents instead of scouting networks who properly scout players and go, he'll bring something. he's got massive potential. Or that guy's ready to come right into the first team right now. That guy's the real deal. So yeah. But yeah, like guys, I've been talking way too long, so I'm going to leave it there. And this is just a random Celtics fans' thoughts on the matter of what's happening. I do ask the Celtic fans, give Wilfred Nancy time. Give him time to bet in. Give him at least to the summer. Give him a transfer window where hopefully he picks the players. If the players are picked over his head, there's nothing you can do. He's not in charge, right? Peter Tisdale's picking these players. It's not going to work. Since he's come in, the decline in players has been absolutely shocking. Or Paul Tisdale, whatever, right? Since he's come in, the decline in players has been shocking. I just want someone to love, I just want somebody to choose what's right for Celtic. That's it. I want the manager to have it, I want the manager, if he succeeds, it's on his terms. If he fails, it's on his terms. That's how it should be. That's how football should be. You bring in a manager, you trust him with the football side of the freaking project. That's why you choose a manager to come in and say, this is the guy. This is the guy. We choose to do it. Right? And when it comes to players, they're his players. When it comes to buying and selling players, he gets the final say on who stays and who goes. He gets that final say. He gets the first say. Right? If the board say, well, we want to sign this player, and he goes, no, that's it. That's it. That should not happen. But if he goes, I want this player, and he's in our budget, and he's well within our budget, and I think he can improve our team, go try to get that player. Make an attempt. Not the Celtic way, but make a freaking proper attempt at getting that player. Give the manager everything he needs to succeed. That's it. That's all I want. Is for the manager to succeed or fail on his terms. And for Celtic to fail or succeed under the terms of the manager. I don't want this asterisk BS. And do you want to know something? Man, final thoughts. If we got Scarachi back, and Alistair Johnston back, and Jota back, and Iheanacho back, and fully fit and playing good football, with Callum Osmond coming off the bench, and him back fit, we look with those four players a better team. Now, Cameron Carter-Vickers out for the rest of the season. So, but if he was back too and he was playing in the back three, and at the right side of the back three, we look a stronger team. It's not even close, right? Right? That's just better. But he doesn't have those players available right now, so he's struggling with a squad that is incapable of winning this league. And that's where I want to leave it. All right, guys, thank you for listening, and have a good one, guys. Peace.